Good morning, everyone. I would like to welcome everyone to today's hearings. The Committee of Adjustments appointed by Council to consider applications for consents and minor variances to the zoning bylaw. Please be advised that any applicant or agent that is in attendance in person at today's hearing for a specific application may leave the hearing once their application has been considered by the committee. Any applicant, agent, or member of the public wishing to address the committee for a specific application is reminded that presentations are limited to 10 minutes per person. Could I please have a motion to adopt today's agenda? Watson and Strength. And would the Secretary Treasurer please read the resolution to adopt the agenda?
Moved by Member Watson, seconded by Member Strength. Be it resolved that the agenda of the Gravenhurst Committee of Adjustment meeting dated September 19th, 2025 be adopted.
Okay, and we'll vote on that committee. Or I guess we could vote by hand.
Sorry, I
That's
tested
okay.
it yesterday.
Do you want to just vote by hand? Let's
Randy,
just,
can you just turn your...
I'm sorry. Do any committee members have any comments with regard to the minutes to be adopted today? Seeing none, okay, could I have a motion to adopt the minutes for July 18th, 2025? Ungerman and Sims, right? Thank you. And would the Secretary Treasurer please read the resolution to adopt the minute?
Moved by Member Ungerman, seconded by Member Sims. Be it resolved that the minutes of the Gravenhurst Committee of Adjustment meeting dated July 18th, 2025 be adopted.
Okay, we'll just vote by hand on that too. Is that, are we good now? Okay. Sorry for that. Just some technology issues there. We're going to call for the vote on the resolution to adopt the minutes. So committee, please vote. And that carries. Thank you. Do any committee members have a pecuniary interest in the applications being heard today? Seeing none. In accordance with Section 11 of the Committee of Adjustment Procedural Bylaw, I'll now ask if the Secretary Treasurer has received any requests for adjournment, deferral, or withdrawal from the applicant or agent for any application.
Mr. Chair, no such requests have been received.
Thank you. The Committee of Adjustment will today consider 3 minor variance applications under public hearings. The Planning Act requires that a public hearing be held before the Committee of Adjustment decides whether or not to approve a consent or a minor variance. The public hearing serves 2 purposes. First, to present to the Committee of Adjustment and the public the details and background to the application. And second, to receive comments from the public and agencies before a decision is made. I will briefly summarize the procedure to be used for the hearing. The Secretary-Treasurer, Adam Ager, will advise as to when, how, and to whom notice of the public hearing was circulated. The Senior Planner, Angela Giacattis, or the Planner, Andrew Clark, will provide any other information that is relevant to the application and summarize any correspondence on file. From there, the applicant will be provided the opportunity to make a presentation, followed by questions or presentations from the public, either in favor of or against the proposal. Committee members will then have the opportunity to question the applicant, the Secretary-Treasurer, the planners, or anyone giving presentations. The proposed consent or variance will then be considered by the committee. If anyone from the public would like to receive a copy of the decision made on any application, please provide your name and full mailing address on one of the forms provided on the table at the back of the room. Would the Secretary-Treasurer please advise how, when, and to whom notices of the public hearings were circulated?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And before I let everyone know how that was done, just for committee's information and those in the room and those following along, I just wanted to introduce a new face in the room to you all. With us, we have Jasper Skinner at the end of the staff table over here. He's our new student planner from the University of Waterloo, and we're lucky enough to have him for the next 4 months. So he's observing today's meeting, and then hopefully, similar to other students, he'll be making presentations to you all in the near future. So welcome, Jasper. We're happy to have you, and absolutely.
You may.
Let me ask the question. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm just curious, do we have an agreement with the University of Waterloo? Because all of our students come from there, and I'm curious to know if we have a relationship. And cool name.
Great question. Through the chair, we do, in theory, have a relationship with the University of Waterloo, basically because they have a rotating co-op program. So the University of Waterloo is one of 2 universities in Ontario that have an undergraduate planning program. And it's also a requirement for planning students at the University of Waterloo to participate in a co-op program. So they go to school for 4 months, then they have to go to work for 4 months, and then back to school. So a 4-year degree actually takes 5 years because they have to do these work terms. So when council originally supported the idea of the planning division having a co-op student, the University of Waterloo was a perfect fit because we could then have one all year round in either a 4-month or an 8-month term. So actually, we're already looking at resumes for January. So it's a well-oiled machine, and it's a great experience, we think, for the students as well as us. We get to meet a lot of very interesting people and backgrounds, and hopefully convince them that doing planning in Muskoka is what they want to do when they're done. And with that, Mr. Chair, notice of the public hearings concerning the proposed applications were sent by first-class mail to the respective owners and assessed persons within 60 meters of the properties subject to the proposed consent or minor variance application, and emailed to applicable agencies. Included with each notice was a summary of the application, a site sketch, and a key map showing the location of the property. The circulations were provided in accordance with the provisions of the Planning Act, RSO 1990, Chapter P13.
Thank you. It is important to note that should committee approve any application, there is a 20-day appeal period during which time today's decision may be appealed. During this appeal period, no building permit may be issued or other work commenced. Also, in the event there is an appeal, and in order to be kept advised of a possible Ontario Land Tribunal hearing, members of the public must request to be sent a copy of committee's decision on the application. Third-party appeals are no longer accepted. Only the applicant, the municipality, and certain public bodies will be able to appeal a minor variance or consent decision. We will now deal with the applications for minor variance, and I now declare this to be a public hearing for minor variance application A17-2025 GR for El Kishin. I will now ask the senior planner, Angela Jakatis, to please provide any additional information that may be relevant.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The subject property is located at the southern boundary of the municipality with frontage on the Severn River. The property is designated waterfront area in the official plan. It's zoned residential waterfront, as well as there is also rural and environmental protection zoning at the back of the property. You can see that surrounding properties have similar lot frontages and areas. And then further to the east is the Lantern Bay Resort property, through which access is gained. The property is located in a residential waterfront area, which until recently was water access only. You can see where the road runs through the property now. And while most of the immediately surrounding properties are currently vacant, the adjacent property to the east is now developed with a dwelling and accessory structures. The proposal is to construct a dwelling in the location shown by the green arrow. There are two requested variances. The first is a minimum setback from the water of 24.7 meters, where a setback of 30 meters is required, representing a variance of 5.3 meters. The second variance is a minimum setback of 3 meters from the western side lot line, where a minimum setback of 6 meters is required, representing a variance of 3 meters. Just showing a close-up of that proposed dwelling and shoreline area. Comments of no objection were received from the town's deputy treasurer and fire department. The chief building official commented that setbacks from overhead hydro lines, septic design, and all building code matters must meet the Ontario Building Code. So just going through some pictures, this first photo was provided by the applicant, standing within the proposed dwelling site and looking towards one of the existing structures on the property. One of the important things to point out is that there was a scoped environmental impact statement prepared, which confirmed that the proposed building location is not habitat for species at risk. The environmental consultant confirmed this general area, this neighborhood, is known as having excellent habitat opportunities for species at risk reptiles. But I will quote from the EIS about the specific proposed building site on this case. He notes, this bedrock is unfractured without any fissures that would allow snakes to seek cover, nor are there any cover rocks or areas of shrub cover, both very important microhabitat elements for snakes. And while there are areas on the building site having shallow soils with grass cover and very minor amounts of shrubs, conditions do not provide good opportunities for snakes. And this photo was also provided by the applicant. You can see when the leaves were off, but I include it to illustrate the building site is quite high up from the river, and the environmental consultant noted, and again I'm quoting, the building height location on a height of land beyond which there are steep slopes down to the river greatly restricts opportunities for reptiles to move from the river shoreline up to this area. Further, there are no wetlands or smaller wet depressions in proximity of this building site. So then with some more current pictures, moving a bit down the slope and looking back, you can see that although the proposed building location is at the top of a slope, there is vegetation on that slope that will remain untouched and will assist in screening the proposed building site, which is to the right of the photo. Similarly, looking down the slope to the waterfront area where the dock and temporary boat port are located in the center bottom of the photo. And then pivoting and looking back into the property, you can see the driveway leading into the building site at the left of the photo, as well as two of the existing structures on the property, a kitchen, cabin, and a shed. Then moving further down the slope and looking towards the waterfront amenity area that includes the gazebo as well as the dock. As noted in the staff report, the property is somewhat of a bowl shape with steep sides and then a level area in the middle that slopes down towards the water. It's further illustrated in this slide. So moving down to the dock and looking west, this photo illustrates the point of land that is part of this frontage and from which the proposed building site is set back greater than 30 meters. But the curvature of the shoreline have resulted in the reduced front yard setback request. And I would just also point out on this slide the vegetation on this slope, which will remain untouched. And then pivoting, you can see that gazebo, and behind it, it's difficult to see, but in the center of the photo, there is a sleeping cabin. And again, the photo doesn't quite do it justice, but the property in this area is like a small valley leading into the water. So this is taken beside the sleeping cabin that was visible in the last photo, so we're looking at the 30-meter setback, and the applicant's position is that to build in this location, there would be grade changes, site alteration, and tree removal required, whereas the proposed building site would avoid all of that. So as detailed in the staff report, planning staff are satisfied that the proposal meets the 4 tests of a minor variance, would recommend approval of the application with a condition requiring a site plan agreement that includes a drawing showing all of the structures in order to confirm zoning bylaw compliance. And that concludes the presentation.
Thank you, Ms. Jakatis. At this time, I'll ask for comments from the applicant's agent, Bobby Leppington, who has pre-registered to address the committee electronically. Welcome, Bobby. Could you please ensure that your microphone and video are turned on? She's in? Okay. And go ahead and press the talk icon. Oh, see her there.
Do you need to give her permission on yours?
No.
Is she read?
Just a moment, Bobby, and we'll have to,
She was showing us football.
yeah.
Good morning, Bobby. You should be able to go ahead and press the talk button, which is should be the middle bottom of your screen. It's a face icon, and then it'll turn red, and you should be able to speak. There you are.
Okay. Good morning, through you, Mr. Chair. I do have a small presentation. All right, so I don't see the screen share working. Susan, if you're able to help me out, that would be great.
Yes, hi. I'll do that for you. It'll just take me a moment.
Thank you. good. Through you, Mr. Chair, I do have a small presentation for 27 Lantern Trail minor variance. Next screen, please.
Sorry to interrupt, Bobby. Are you by any chance connected to YouTube? If you are connected to YouTube, then you should disconnect, and maybe that's why we're getting feedback.
I am not connected. Let me just double check, make sure I'm not. Can everybody hear me now at 1027 Lantern Trail?
We can't hear you very well. We can see your presentation, but go ahead and continue, and we'll do the best we can.
Okay, next screen, please, Susan. Wanted to point out in a continuation from presentation that the envelope we're looking for is 3 meters off the western side yard place to put cottage development on the property. And in the photos that Angela had shared, you could see that the eastern side and northern side of the property are and low lying. Next slide, please. The overview there that you can see is the dock in the curve and the point of the bedrock. And you can see the ball rock towards the front of the property that we plan to develop on. Next slide, please. This is an overview of the front of that dock or that boathead, the dock and the boat on the right, and then the bedrock with the 2 chairs on the left. And we are talking about building up and behind that and in behind the trees. Slide. This is a picture supplied by the owners of that scope EIS as well as the plan adjustment. And one of the things we wanted to point out as we move to the east on this bedrock towards that small bunkie, we move more than 3 meters off the side yard, our foundation rock and would be 10 to 12 feet high. We've placed the proposed cottage in the best location on this property to maintain the vegetation, the drainage, and the characteristics. Please. We've provided that planning just and laid out the framework to ensure compliance with the provincial policy statement, official plan and zoning bylaw, and we provided a scope GIS with respect to development along the Rock Ridge. Next slide. I'm here to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you, Bobby. We actually did not hear very clearly, but I think we've got the gist from the presentation. A lot of your photos and whatnot were similar. So I think we'll move on from here. Thanks, Bobby. And sorry, I have to turn my page here. Is the applicant here today and they wish to make a public presentation? I'm gonna disconnect Bobby here. So I should hit my microphone too. Are there any questions or comments from members of the public attending in person? Seeing none. Thank you. Committee, the staff's recommendation is to approve this minor variance, and do we have a motion for discussion? And Watson and Strength. And I will now ask Mr. Ager to please read the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Moved by Member Watson, seconded by Member Strength. Be it resolved that application number A17-2025 GR Elkishan be approved and that the necessary notice of decision be prepared conditional upon the applicant entering into a site plan agreement with the municipality that includes a drawing showing all the existing and proposed structures with confirmation of zoning compliance.
Thank you. Committee, any discussion, questions? Member Strength.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. To Mr. Caddis, so when the site plan comes in with the proper structures and everything on it, is there potential for some of the structures to not make it, that they would have to come down or to accommodate the new dwellings and the boathouse and that sort of thing? I guess it's a coverage question.
Through you, I don't believe there will be any issue with lot coverage or shoreline development, but we do need to understand, do need to do those calculations to confirm. The applicant is making some changes to the dock, has submitted a permit for that, and we need information about everything that's there to confirm the correct numbers.
Thank you. Anything further? Mr. Sims.
Thank you. Just a quick comment. I'm in support of this, and again, I want to thank the staff. The pictures really do tell the story about the restrictions that are apparent from visiting the site, and you don't get those from just looking at the piece of paper. So I thank you for that.
Yes, I think we can see, building on the open rock space rather than taking out trees. And I think it's that the nature of the lot where you're measuring to, because of the way it curves in. It's one of, again, every situation's unique, but I think from my point of view, this appears to be justified as well. So anything further? And we'll call for the vote. And that carries. Thank you very much. And I now declare this public hearing to be concluded. I now declare this to be a public hearing for minor variance application A 2025 GR for DesRoches and Haddon. I will now ask the planner, Andrew Clark, to please provide any additional information that may be relevant.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good morning, everybody. The subject property, which is municipally known as 290 Winewood Avenue West, is in the central area of the town of Gravenhurst Urban Center, specifically to the west of Muskoka Road North and on the north side of Winewood Avenue. The property is within the urban residential area designation in the official plan and is zoned residential 1. The property is accessed from Winewood Avenue West, and as you can see on this map, is a corner lot that also abuts Mary Street North to the west. The property is developed with a detached dwelling, which has an attached deck, a detached garage, a pool, and a shed. The shed is the structure that is subject to this application and can be seen in the rear part of the property on this map. The property is flat and cleared, although there is a dense row of trees that exists along the exterior side lot line abutting Mary Street, and tight board fencing also exists around the rear and the side lot lines. The surrounding area generally consists of similarly sized urban properties that are developed with detached dwellings and accessory structures similarly to this property. An application has been submitted to recognize the location of an existing shed that was recently constructed on the property by specifically permitting a minimum setback of 4.7 meters from the exterior side lot line, where 6 meters is required, representing a variance of 1.3 meters. The shed itself was constructed over the past summer and replaced an existing shed which received a building permit in 1989. The new shed is actually further from the rear lot line than that structure, but is closer to the exterior side lot line as it increased in width. And beyond what's permitted by the zoning bylaw requiring the need for this application. And if approved, the variance would allow the owner to proceed with obtaining a building permit to legalize that structure. Comments of no objection are received from the chief building official, the deputy fire chief, or Alexicon Energy. And no comments were also received from members of the public. Moving into our photos of the site, this first picture looks north from the front of the property to the existing dwelling. The shed subject to this application again is in the rear yard behind this structure, but it's worth noting that this dwelling is actually closer to the exterior side yard than the setback being requested. It's approximately 1 meter, and it is a legal structure. Moving and looking north, this is a view into the rear yard. You can see the detached garage on the right, the pool directly ahead, and then the shed on the left in the background. Again, looking north, here's a closer view of the shed, noting the existing separation from the exterior side lot line on the left, the fence in the background. This looks behind the shed to the neighboring northern property. You can also see that that property is developed with a accessory structure within a similar location. And you can see that the fence does provide a buffer between development there. Now this looks west towards the exterior side lot line where relief is being requested. You can see Mary Street in the background, but you can note that this location is well screened from the road and the boulevard by the existing chain link fence, but the existing trees as well. This photo now looks east into the property from the Mary Street road allowance. You know, again, noting that the shed, you can kind of see it in the background there, but that it's well screened from view from the road. This looks west across Mary Street. You can note the location of existing accessory structures on neighboring properties. Due to the location of the shed and its buffering, it's not expected to result in negative impacts to surrounding properties. Now, finally, this looks north up Mary Street from the shed location generally, noting that there's an existing community mailbox and a transformer box. You can also see the surrounding street and the landscape boulevard, which is part of the road allowance. And so the shed is adequately separated and buffered from existing municipal infrastructure, and it's not expected to interfere with the surrounding development character. So as outlined in the staff report, staff are satisfied that the application meets the 4 required tests of a minor variance and would recommend the application be approved. And that concludes the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Clark. Do the applicant or agent have a presentation they wish to make? Is the applicant here? Yeah. Just available for questions if we have any? Okay, thank you. Okay, any questions or comments from members of the public? Seeing none. Again, committee, the staff's recommendation is to approve this minor variance. And does committee have a motion in that regard? Strength and Watson? Okay. And Mr. Ager, will you please read the resolution?
Moved by member Strang, seconded by member Watson. Be it resolved that application number A 2025 GR DeRoches be approved and that the necessary notice of decision be prepared.
Okay, committee, any comments or questions of anyone who's participated? No? Okay, and I'll ask the planner, as I forgot to do last time, are there any recommendations as a result of these proceedings?
Through you, Mr. Chair, staff would recommend the applications approved. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, then we will call for the vote on the resolution. Please vote. And that carries. Thank you. I now declare this public hearing to be concluded. And I now declare this to be a public hearing for minor variance application A21-2025 GR for DeSanto. I will now ask the planner, Andrew Clark, to please provide any additional information that may be relevant.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The subject property, which is municipally known as 66 Loon Lake Road, is in the northwestern area of the town. and is on the northwestern side of Loon Lake. The property is within the waterfront area designation in the official plan and is zoned residential waterfront, RW6D. The property is currently accessed from Loon Lake Road, which is municipally maintained, and also has assessed frontage on Loon Lake. The property is developed with an existing dwelling and an attached deck, a detached garage, a sleeping cabin, a shoreline storage shed, and a dock. The property is well vegetated and level at the rear and central area, but does slope downwards more steeply within the shoreline area. The shoreline area includes a mix of shrubs, mature trees, grass, and rock outcropping. You can also see that the property is defined by an irregular shoreline, which does curve inwards quite significantly, moving north, forming sort of a mini bay within the area. The surrounding lands generally consist of smaller residential waterfront lots, which are also well vegetated and have similar development characteristics, as well as larger rural lots to the northwest. It's also worth noting on this slide that the property is with an area that is assessed to be at an extreme risk to wildland fire by provincial mapping, likely due to the existing coniferous trees to the rear and also along a bit of the side lot line, which you can see on this map. As you may have noted in the staff report, a further assessment of the property indicates that this risk can be mitigated for the proposed development in accordance with provincial standards and does not appear to be extreme as indicated. An application has been submitted to permit the construction of a one-story dwelling addition on the south side of the existing dwelling, which requires permitting a maximum dwelling width of 17.9 meters at a minimum setback of 10.7 meters from the optimal summer water level, where 12.4 meters is permitted, representing a variance of 5.5 meters, permitting a maximum dwelling width of 20.3 meters at a minimum setback of 11.2 meters from the optimal summer water level, where 12.8 meters is permitted, representing a variance of 7.5 meters. And I'll note that that second width requirement comes from this bulb out, which I believe is to be a laundry room, but that's why there's two width reliefs, one at the very front and then one where the building bulbs out as well. And then permitting a minimum southern side lot line setback of 5.5 meters for an attached open staircase and deck, where 6 meters is required, representing a variance of 0.5 meters. Comments of no objection were received from the chief building official, subject to septic and hydro setbacks being met under the Ontario Building Code and being confirmed at the building permit stage by the deputy treasurer, the deputy fire chief, and the president of the Loon and the Turtle Lake Cottagers Association. And letters of no objection have also been provided from the abutting northern neighboring property at 65 Loon Lake Road and the southern neighbor at 67 Loon Lake Road. No other comments have been received from members of the public. Moving into our site photos, this first picture looks towards the rear area of the proposed dwelling addition looking east, which you can see has been marked out. The addition will also replace the existing open deck, which is seen on the left. You can note that the existing shoreline vegetation and the waterfront area in the background, and also see that the addition is on a cleared, flat and kind of elevated area and will be behind existing trees. This looks south to the abutting property that shares the side lot line where the reduced setback is being requested for the open deck and stairs. You can note that the dwelling on this property, it's very well separated and buffered from the proposed development by the existing trees and topography. There are a few pine trees shown in the foreground here that I'll mention, which have been identified as being in poorer health and having higher wildland fire risk, and that are proposed to be removed in accordance with the province's Fire Smart guidelines. Looking east again, this is a more immediate view of the shoreline in front of the proposed addition. Again, this photo kind of captures the irregularity of the shoreline here, and that there is more separation between the dwelling addition and the water than indicated based on the minimum setback of the existing dwelling, which is used to calculate the allowable width. And you can see how the shoreline curves outwards, moving in the southern direction. This looks west to the existing dwelling footprint in the center area of the shoreline, where it curves inwards more. I can kind of note the existing orientation of the building, which moves further away from the water to the south, or to the left side of this image. You can also note some of the existing shoreline vegetation and rock outcropping. Now, still looking west, this is a view of the dwelling from the south portion of the shoreline, which helps indicate that the visual impact is not reflected entirely at the same point along the shoreline, and also that a natural buffer will be maintained between the addition and the water. Staff are also recommending that additional vegetation is included within this area as a condition of approval to further mitigate the added visual impact of the dwelling footprint. And the applicant has agreed to this and also has indicated this already on their site plan provided with the application. And I would note that the setback from this particular area of the dwelling addition itself ranges between 20 to 30 meters if you measure it straight outwards from the dwelling to the water. So it's quite a bit higher than the minimum being considered with the width calculation. Finally, this looks northwest at the rear of the property, again noting the existing driveway, sleeping cabin, and a garage. You can also see that the dwelling is well separated from the existing coniferous trees shown on the left-hand side, which are parts of the wildland fire risk assessment mapping. Yes. And as outlined in the staff report, staff are satisfied the application meets the 4 required tests for a minor variance and recommend the application be approved, subject to conditions that additional shoreline plantings are provided in front of the proposed dwelling addition, and that defensible space is maintained around the dwelling to mitigate wildland fire risks in accordance with applicable provincial standards through the required site plan agreement. And that concludes staff's presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Clark. Do the applicant or agent have a presentation they wish to make? Please come forward. And we'll need your name and mailing address. You can push the button at the podium there. And go ahead.
Thank you very much. My name is James DeSanto. Good morning, everybody. Do you need my address right now? Mailing address, 3234 Flynn Crescent, Mississauga, Ontario, L5C 2M3. Good. Thanks to the committee for hearing this presentation and the planning department, specifically Andrew Clark and all his hard work in this. The need for this addition has come out for 2 reasons. One, growing family. My parents who are here today, the owners of the cottage, John and Marisa, when they bought this cottage 20 years ago, there was only 4 of us, my brother and I and my parents. Now, 20 years later, there's wives, 2 grandkids, and a 3rd on the way coming in the new year. The other need for this addition was updating that needed to be done on the cottage. There's the deck that was present in the photo that Andrew said is starting to rot, and the side wall parts of it are not meant for leaning on. And there's a septic that needs to be updated and needs to be moved from its location. So therefore, we looked at the property. The septic had to go away from the water, so the natural spot for it was on the roadside, which meant the natural spot for the addition is to the south side, which is a cleared area, which is moving further away from the water. Throughout the process, we have met with Andrew, including a site visit, and followed all of his recommendations, including planting new trees in locations he has suggested. Overall, this new addition moves further away from the water, is behind our neighbor's sightline, improves the location and updates the septic away from the water, and meets the needs of our growing family, as this cottage, 3-bedroom, 1-bath, 1,000 square foot, now needs more space. And so this addition includes just 2 bedrooms and a great room for some family time. We've also taken Andrew's recommendations and done a lot of research on mitigating fires. We are removing the old pines that Andrew suggested. We're adding spaced out oak trees, and we're moving our propane tank 10 meters from the building as recommended to mitigate fires. We've got the support of our neighbors on both sides and the association, and we'll be around for any questions that you might have. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Mr. DeSanto. Are there any questions or comments from members of the public? I don't think we have anyone else there. Committee, again, the staff's recommendation is to approve the minor variance. Do I have a motion to that effect? Mr. Ungerman and Mr. Sims. And I'll now ask Adam Ager to please read the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Moved by Member Ungerman, seconded by Member Sims. Be it resolved that application number A21-2025 GR DeSanto be approved and that the necessary notice of decision be prepared, conditional upon the owners entering into a site plan agreement to require the following. 1, the maintenance of defensible space around the dwelling footprint in accordance with the Wildland Fire Risk Assessment and Mitigation Reference Manual and Fire Smart Principles. And 2, additional vegetation within the shoreline area to visually buffer the proposed dwelling addition.
Thank you. Is there any comments or questions, committee, for anyone who's spoken? Mr. Sims, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and through you, I want to thank the family for, first of all, being here to support it, but getting the letters of support from the neighbors. It tells me you've been talking to your neighbors. Fabulous, best practices. And updating the septic just seems like a reasonable thing at this time, given the expanded room. So I'm in support, and I just thank you for making those efforts. And of course, Andrew is making a lot of the suggestions, so you get a bit of credit too. So.
Okay, thank you. Anything further on that? Okay, I think we'll, I'll ask if there's any recommendations as a result of these proceedings.
Through you, Mr. Chair, staff would recommend the application be approved with the recommended conditions.
Okay, thank you. And then we'll call for the vote on this committee. And that carries, thank you. I now declare this public hearing to be concluded. And that concludes our proceedings today. The next Committee of Adjustment meeting is on Friday, October 17th. And as there's no further business, can I have a motion to adjourn? And we have Watson. I saw strength there too. Yep. Thank you. And please vote. And that carries, thank you. I now declare this hearing to be adjourned at, 9:48.